Hi, I'm Emily,
And I'm Julia.
and this is the Bad Bitch Podcast.
And today, not only have we got a lovely special guest who we'll get to in a minute, but we're going to frame this from the beginning that Emily and I are sharing microphone today.
Yeah, we're being even closer than normal on the sofa. But this is because we have a special guest with us. So we're very happy to have you here, darling.
And so, yes, without further ado, we'd like to welcome our first special guest because this is a new thing for us. And we're very excited because we've got an absolute pro joining us today, the wonderful Naomi Buff. And I'm not going to steal any of Naomi's thunder because I really want you to hear about how amazing she is, all the incarnation she's been through from her in her own words. And it really is like your background and how you've developed and you've grown as a person is really relevant. It's today's topic. Emily's tapping me on the shoulder because she wants to say something.
We're laughing because we're sharing this microphone, which means if I want to speak, I have to tap you on the shoulder. Maybe we should just do that in every episode. You'll probably be happier. I won't interrupt you. But before we hear all of that,
I get to control your mic.
Yeah, you get to control my voice. I'm going to have control issues in this episode to test our relationship. I thought though, this is why we by the way we should plan our episodes. But I thought we should maybe share how we both know Naomi.
Yes.
To start with, before she does her introduction.
Go on then.
So, well, I met her through you, so we're going to have to hear your story. And I think my first experience of you was coming to an amazing outdoor sound bath.
Oh, yes.
Which was fantastic in Sevenoaks. Was it Sevenoaks?
Yeah.
And that was, I'd done like some little bits of breath work before, but nothing that, in a way, that structured all that long. And that was just this amazing experience. And obviously today we'll share for people who don't know what breathwork is about that experience and what it's like. So we'll get into that later. And so that was the first experience. And then obviously I signed up to your newsletter, which is great. And then I've done one of your online experiences, which I think was an hour. And honestly, me doing anything for an hour is quite a challenge, especially given my schedule. But it's amazing what happens in an hour of breath work. And that was just such an incredible experience. And so one of the reasons we're so excited to have you here is, first of all, you are 100% a bad bitch. And so we hope your story is going to inspire people, but also for people who've never heard about breathwork to understand what it is and give it a try, because I honestly felt so much calmer, and I think I let a lot go in that session. And I think sometimes people just think of it as just something that's just relaxing and nice to do, but I actually think it's really transformational. So we're really, really happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm so honoured.
That's enough speaking for you for now.
I'll drink my tea now.
And yeah, to expand on that, the way I met you is slightly more convoluted because I think originally you did some work with a mutual party who was working in corporate wellness, and my boyfriend was on the same Zoom call as you, and he came off the Zoom call and he was like, oh my gosh, he's like, I've met this girl, this lady Naomi, you're gonna love her, like, so follow her on Instagram. So I did. And then you used to do your dating events as well. One of the many other things.
So many chapters.
Yeah, and I brought one of my friends along, and I remember like being like this little like protective parent, dropping her off at the door. Yeah. But I saw as she went in, like the massive hug that you gave her, and I was like, she's in safe hands. And again, I'm like, Naomi's the most wonderful person. Aww. And then I came along to one of your spring equinox workshops.
Oh, yes.
And then it was like just magic from there. Yeah. And then obviously I've had the privilege of attending your sound baths, your breath work, also your soul-led strategy for business badasses. That's amazing too. So without further ado, I think we've talked enough. You certainly have. Could you just tell us a little bit about how you got to like be this amazing breathwork practitioner? Tell us a bit about your journey, my love.
Oh, do you know what? Firstly, thank you so much for having me. I just adore you both, and I just feel so at home. And I feel like, yes, bad bitch energy is like completely radiating from this corner. So I've been in holistic wellbeing about I think it's about 15 years now. And I always count it like how old my son is, and he's going to be 17 in January. And I started when he was probably about a year and a half, but more probably when he was about 2. So you're coming up to like 15 years. And to be honest, it's all by accident. Like, and even to this day, I'm like, no, I'm joking. Like now, I do have like much more like structure, planning. I still have never done like a business plan. It just does not sit right with me because I'm like a bouncy ball. But basically, like I started my journey in wellness because my son, who was one at the time, he stopped eating, and I just moved to Monaco with my then husband. We're now divorced, thank God. So many stories. But as a mum, like you just want to like nourish your child, and when they go from eating all of your Annabelle Carmel meals to eating nothing, the whole world is over. It's like, oh my God, I failed as a parent. And I remember like going to the doctors and them saying, and at the time I wasn't really that healthy. I wouldn't say that I was unhealthy. I'd go to the gym, but I wasn't really invested in health. Like you kind of like you tick the boxes. And the doctors would say, well, as long as he's like having like milk and yogurt, he'll be fine. And I thought, I don't believe that. And so I started like to do research, and I started to create him healthy recipes. Now, this is before Deliciously Ella, and it was trendy to have chia seeds, and that was in absolutely everything. Like it was definitely like before all of the trends. So I was creating all of these recipes for him, and I realized that it was actually really easy. They were really tasty. And I was like, oh my God, this is all like really healthy. So I just had this idea that I just wanted to share it with other mums who might be struggling.
Can I just ask to interrupt, but what led him to stop eating in the first place?
I think it was probably the move, because we'd gone from the UK over to like a complete like change of scenery. And yeah, and I mean, to this day, he's still not the best eater, but yeah, we've got 3 more food groups into him, in addition to milk and yogurt.
So like in the film Elf, where he's like the five food groups, like candy cane, popcorn, like syrup, all the syrups.
Well, it doesn't like Will Ferrell. He's like, it's corn syrup, sugar syrup.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
So you're helping a lot of mums with what is a battle, which is getting your children to eat healthily.
Yeah, and I just started like just to create. I created like workshops, and the reason why I tell you this is because like when I first started, and I remember saying this in my first workshop, which was basically teaching 3 recipes, like standing in front of like a group of mums saying, look, this is how easy it is. You put that in your blender, you put this, you put that. This is really good because blah, blah, blah. And this is how easy it is to make. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's really easy. I'd make it, and then they'll taste it. They'll go, oh wow, yeah, that tastes really good. Like, so it was like just having that like understanding, oh, this is healthy because, and oh yes, it's really easy because I've just witnessed that. And oh, actually, eating healthily does not have to taste like eating cardboard. So that was like the kind of like the concept that like I just wanted to share. And the very first workshop, I said, my only goal is to inspire one small change. And this has been a thread that has been through absolutely everything that I've done up until this day, because whenever I kind of like do a workshop, hold space, whatever I do, like that's my intention. If I can just trigger one small change in every single person here, then I've done my job. So
love that.
Yeah.
So good. So you really feel that.
Yeah,
And it's definitely been our experience when we did.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a small change. I'd
No,
say like it's
massive.
it's profound. But I
Yeah.
think it's that. I think also sometimes with we talk to a lot of people running businesses, and we run a business group, and I do think it's easy sometimes to overcomplicate it or over focus on hitting certain metrics.
Yeah.
And then people get a lot of stress around doing something, and what you're talking about is really doing it from a place of love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like just like letting go of like expectation, because whenever like I go to something, and you might resonate with this as well, like you're given so much information and you're like, oh my God, I have to do everything. And then like what actually can happen is that this desire to like do everything, you end up doing nothing. So if you just take it back to, okay, well, what one thing can you do? You go, okay, well, I can do one thing. And that one thing like builds momentum. You start to build confidence in yourself. And then you're like, oh, look at me. I've just done something good. And then you have that inspiration to then go to do the second one. So it's just really about like breaking it down and making it more achievable, like for people. It's like going, yeah, I know you want to do it all. Like we all want to do it all. But just what's the one thing that's like really like lit you up today?
Yeah.
That you want to go home and try. And that's what I think is like that for me. It's always been, that's been like the thing that's like shifted things for people, going, I don't have to go home and like try to do these 15 things in the next 24 hours. making it more achievable.
It's another stick to beat yourself with. And I think
Yeah.
women, we always, we can be very self-critical or
Yeah.
have ridiculously high requirements, not just in one area, but in parenting, partnership, work. Like there's so many areas we're
Yeah.
trying to excel in.
Yeah.
But like if you're willing to share, I'm sure people are really interested to listen to how you go from the kind of well-being work, but you're still living in Monaco,
Yeah.
to now you're here running these amazing breath workshops. What are some of the steps that happened along the way, and maybe what helped you make those decisions, I guess?
Yeah, so I feel like I've lived like a lot of different chapters, and there's been a lot of different versions of me. Like the version of me who moved to Monaco like 15 and a half years ago is a very different person who you see sitting in front of you right now. And back in Monaco, like I lived like parallel lives. I accidentally started this incredible like wellness business, which started off as this one workshop in like my living room with 7 mums, to then going into like the Fairmont Hotel and like be like having like regular workshops, like hundreds of women come in to be in like a superfood supplier. I was literally like Del Boy. Like people would phone me, Naomi, have you got chia seeds? I'm like,
The Del Boy and superfoods. I love this.
Because you have to remember, like, it wasn't easily available.
No, it
back
wasn't.
then.
No, and getting good supplements. I remember all of
Yeah.
that was really difficult.
Yeah. So like I was stocking all the superfoods, I was doing all of these workshops, and it literally just exploded. Like I was a little bit of a celebrity in Monaco. People would come up to me in the street and ask me like, "What do you tell me what you had for breakfast?" And my kids would be like, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing." And then I ended up like working with the Monaco Restaurant Group, and I created healthy eating menus for like one of the restaurants like down on the beach. And at the time, like the only things that you could eat were like pain au chocolat and like the baguettes. There were no gluten-free options, there were no eggs or anything protein, there was no vegan options. But I worked with like one of the restaurant groups and like worked over about 4 or 5 restaurants and changed all the menus. And one of the breakfasts that we did, like their breakfast turnover like increased by 80%.
Wow.
Because it was so well received, because people wanted like a vegan birch muesli. They wanted to have almond milk in their coffee. They wanted to have eggs for breakfast. They wanted to see quinoa on the menus. So it was really different, and it was really difficult working with like the chefs, because I just played like dumb. I had like French from school, but I was just like, nope, I speak no French. So I would go in every day and I'd hear them like slagging me off, and I'd just stand there and just smiling and going, and I'm thinking, you absolute twat. Like, I don't speak French. I'm not a chef. Yeah, I'm standing here teaching you, and you are. But and in the end, they all came round, and they were all like loving it, and they really embraced it. But it was a real journey, but one that I'm really proud of. And then I went on to do Monaco MasterChef, and I created a product range of superfoods and adaptogens, which I got into like Harrods and Selfridges. I actually folded that in 2020, unfortunately. So I had like this great like career like on the front, and everybody, and I literally like had the life on Instagram that you'd be like, oh my God, I want that life. But I was so unhappy. I was really unhappy in my marriage. But I didn't see it for what it was at the time. I thought, well, I should be really lucky, because like I've got this great like career which is like absolutely flying. I've got this amazing life that I'm living. I'm like traveling the world like business class and doing all of these amazing things. I'm shopping in designer shops, but I'm still really unhappy. Like, what is wrong with me? And then I like burnt out from like chronic fatigue syndrome. So, but I couldn't really, I felt like I couldn't really be authentic about that and say, well, I'm working in wellness, but actually I'm a fucking shit show. Like, because it was like, well, that would mean that I'm not good at what I do. So it was like these two different versions of me. And like now, like the journey that I've been on, I can look back and I can see, I can see that now. But when I was living it, like I was so disconnected from myself. I felt so lost in myself, even though everything from the outside looked amazing. I felt I was completely lost. Anyway, I came back to the UK in 2017. And then I just was like, had a part-time husband who was traveling back and forth. And that was okay up until 2020. And then something happened and I was just like, okay, like this has to end.
Yeah.
And it was a very definitive like knowing.
Yeah.
And I had this feeling, it's like, if it's not now, it's never. And then the thought, and I knew I knew the journey that I would go on would be really difficult. I knew that it would completely destroy me. But then, and we'd been through this path like a couple of times before, and I'd always like back down and be like, oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I didn't have that faith and confidence in myself. But eventually, like when I remember like the moment it was like, okay, I know the path ahead is like really going to destroy me, but the thought of staying the same, like that fear, like the fear of staying the same was greater. I was like, I cannot do this. I will do whatever I can to change this for myself. And then so we went through like, it started at the beginning of January, and then I remember like the day before lockdown, I was like, no, this is it. Like, we are done.
Yeah.
And I was so adamant in my decision. And then we went into lockdown, and I call it locked up because I got locked up with my ex-husband.
No. I thought that story was like lockdown came at the right time because we couldn't see each other. Oh, that was a twist.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Psychologically.
It's like the universe is like, it's going to be really tough, but how tough do you really want it to be?
Oh my God.
Well, how tough can you take it? I think it's one of those things where we sometimes think, I can't do that, but somehow the universe knows that you can. But how on earth did you cope with that?
Well, it was really, my mum always says, my mum's very spiritual, very woo-woo, very witchy, and she'd always say, the universe only gives you what you can cope with, Naomi. And I remember her saying that to me. I was like, fuck this, I cannot cope with this.
Yes.
I'm done.
Thanks so much, Mum.
Yeah. Easy for you to say.
Yeah, some people are like, oh, it'll all be fine, and you just want to slap them in the face and be like, well, try being me right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, holding on with all my might.
I know, it's like white knuckling. So those months were really challenging.
So how long did you have to go through that particular period?
Until like everything like kind of opened up and he could fly again. So I think it was May. I think it was a good 2 months.
Wow.
Just like going through this process. And then again, I had to like live a lie because I was isolated from friends. I actually lost like a lot of friends. So like, I think like what people don't talk about, like when like a marriage collapses, is you don't just lose like a partner, you lose a home, you lose stability, you lose friends, you lose extended family. Like the loss isn't just like the marriage. You also lose like the dreams. Like when you get married, you don't get married thinking, wow, this is gonna like probably end up in divorce in a couple of years or whatever. Like you get married with this like fantasy.
Real
and I blame Disney.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Here we are, forever and after. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was a real journey, but it really, when I lost like everything, because in the process, like I lost my business, because up until that point, I'd come back from Monaco and I hadn't really found what was sticking. I was working on my blends. I was in Harrods. I was really like trying to push those, but I'd lost my spark. I'd lost like my excitement for what I was doing, and I think, well, no, looking back, it's like I was living a lie. Like I was in a marriage which wasn't like aligned, and I was still suffering the chronic fatigue syndrome. Ironically, since that marriage ended, I haven't had chronic fatigue syndrome. I have tired days like we all do, but I don't have like that constant like waking up like feeling like I've been hit by a bus. So that was something that was really like significant and interesting.
And I think that will resonate with some people listening, that experience of you have what appears to be a perfect life and everyone will be telling you that you have this great life. So you then feel kind of guilty for not feeling like that. But then also your body knows something isn't right. So that's manifesting in ill health. And you can't but you can't necessarily express that to people either.
No.
So it's kind of self-fulfilling, like the level of pressure makes it even harder to get well.
100%. And it's almost like you having to admit to yourself, having to admit to the world as well. And it's really hard, like to actually to own your truth. So it's the easiest option is like, let me just forget about this and pretend it's not happening. But like that is only sustainable for a certain amount of time, because the body like will like present you with like a dis-ease like until we finally wake up, because that's its job. Like it wants, like our body is like, our soul is always working in the highest alignment for like our grades in high school. And if we don't listen to the messages, it's just going to keep coming for us time and time again.
Are you going to listen now? Yeah. Okay, we can. Don't worry, we can turn up the volume a bit more. Yeah.
Oh, I've got so many stories about that as well.
So how did you go from that, moment of like, okay, I really have to end, you said not just this relationship, but this whole network.
Yep.
How did you find breathwork, or had you already found breathwork when that happened?
Before it all happened, I was already doing Kundalini, and I was absolutely loving that. I was loving that connection back to myself, and it felt like when I was doing Kundalini, like everything like noisy from the outside was just stopping, and I was finding this like spiritual connection back to myself, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I kind of had that like as a little bit of a thread, and then in lockdown, like I just completely crashed. I folded like my business at the time, and cause I couldn't look after myself, let alone like try to like hold space for clients, and so that I just put to a side. And I just created like a daily practice, because I'd done like the 40-day Kriyas in Kundalini, and I'd seen the benefit to them. I really got into Dr. Joe Dispenza as well. And I knew that the journey that I was on was going to completely destroy me. So I was like, right, you have two choices. You either go down or you fight it. And because I was so like, my nervous system was completely shot to pieces. So I just started like really investing in myself, and I'd meditate sometimes for like 2 hours. I mean, obviously lockdown, like we actually had time to do that. Like if any, like living now, you're like,
yes,
I'll give you 2 minutes. But I really committed to this daily practice, and I also like really just lent into like working with my angels and my guides, because and I'm sure like people listening will resonate with this. I did not trust myself.
100%. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, because as well, it's like, especially if you live in that way where you have this perfect life from the outside, it's everything that the world teaches you should want, but you don't want it. You do get into that position where you start to question, well, why don't I want it? And like, if everyone's telling me I should want it, so like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's very true, because you do have that, and that erosion of trust does take time, and it you get to a point where you just don't recognize who you are anymore.
100%. I didn't recognize who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't trust myself. I felt lost. I felt stuck. I felt disconnected. I literally was just like a shell, like this person from the outside and inside. I remember for so many years, just feeling like a spectator of my life, like this disassociation, like looking, just going, okay, I can see everything kind of going on here, but I feel nothing. It's like this real numbness.
I think that's an interesting point, because when, from a physiological perspective, when we get under extreme stress, the brain copes with it by starting to disconnect from the experience, and we get dissociative states. And so I think that numbness, sometimes people can feel quite calm in that phase, but that's actually a sign that you're in an extremely stressed state, and to the point that your brain's like, I'm just not going to feel anything. I'm not going to feel the good. I'm not going to feel the bad. I'm just not going to feel anything. And that's the way to survive. And also, the body knows what it's doing. That's actually helpful in that moment, because when you said I was going to go through something almost that could break me, if you didn't have the ability to detach, it actually could have broken you.
Yeah, completely. And then I found breathwork in lockdown, and I just started doing it online. And then I trained, I think that's probably like 2021 was the first training, which was just for like my own knowledge. At the time, like I had no idea where it would lead me. I was just like, my only goal was get back online, Naomi. Sort your shit out. And I really started and I'd manifested for years before anyway, but there was always like superficial things,
right? Yes.
Which like a watch or a dress, and actually all of those things like I got. But now it was like I was like, right, like what's really important? And actually, all of that shit that I had before, like the nice dresses, the watches, all of that, none of it mattered. I was like, that does not bring happiness. Like, but at the time, like you have this false perception, because like you look for that external gratification, and you buy something and you have that instant dopamine hit, and it's like, okay, and it's this cycle that you're in, this almost like addiction to feeling good from something that is like gratifying you from the outside. So in this, I was just like, I know that I can I can create like the life that I want. So I really worked on like manifestation. But at the time, it's really hard to manifest when you feel absolutely crap and when you don't have any evidence of like what a good relationship looks like, for example, or what happiness actually feels like. So like I just would create this image in my mind of what I wanted, like write it all down, would look at it and think, well, that's a crock of shit. Like, how are you going to get that? Because my self-worth was so low. I remember coming to you, Julia, didn't I?
Yes.
Remember, I'm a dickhead magnet.
Yes, you did say this to me.
Yeah.
But the first step is awareness, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But it was really helpful because just saying that out loud to you,
Yeah.
when I started dating again,
Wow.
like I was like, oh, I'm going to meet the most amazing man and live happily ever after. Oh my God. That did not happen straight away.
Straight away, people, yes.
That in itself was a journey because I was attracting from what I believed I was worth. I was attracting from low self-worth, low self-esteem. And then if like I did meet a nice guy, I'd run a mile. I'd be like, well, you're weird. Like this, what is this?
It's not familiar.
No.
Absolutely. So I was attracting from familiarity, from what I believed I was worth.
Yes.
So when I said that to you, actually, it was a bit of an aha moment. It was like, oh, wait, one sec. Like, no, you're the common denominator. So that became like a journey back to self-love, back to self-worth. And then like breath work was kind of still ticking along. I trained in sound as well, thankfully, just before, right at the beginning of 2020. I think it's around about January 2020. So I was already doing sound baths. I trained in Reiki. So I already had this thread to the holistic modalities, and they were supporting me like through lockdown. I was doing Reiki on myself. I was doing sound on myself. And actually, like, I'd feel like this crippling anxiety, and then I'd go and hit the gong and I'd go, oh, that physical sensation of anxiety has just left my body. This is amazing. And of course it would come back, but it was just that temporary like micro shift that I'd hold on to. I'm like, wait, I feel like this, but then this one thing makes it go away. So I held on to that 1% rather than the fact that, you know what, it's going to come back.
100%. And I feel like clients that come to me, if they're feeling anxious for like 24 hours a day, it's very similar to like when people go on courses and they get all these things and they want to do all the things and they're obsessed with making it look perfect. When they come to me and they're feeling like really anxious, it's like they want to go from like being really anxious to being like a full-time member of Fight Club to like being the Dalai Lama, you know.
Yeah.
And it's your brain can't comprehend it. So I'm like, right, okay, even if you spend like 23 hours a day and 45 minutes in like anxious, let's just work on like 15 minutes or like those small it's the small micro changes, the small micro steps, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Can I just ask, because I'm conscious some people listening won't be very familiar with some of the things we're talking about. Can you give us like the brief grandma level definition of breath work and sound baths?
yeah, absolutely. So a sound bath is sound frequency. So there's lots of different like instruments and they all will vibrate at a different frequency. So when I was just saying, I had like the daddy, one of the daddies of the gongs, like Pluto, which is ruled by Scorpio, and I'm a Scorpio. So it's Pluto is all about that deep transformation. It's the darkest of the planets, and Scorpio is all about like transformation. So like the fact that I had bought that was just magical and no mistake. But yeah, it's the frequency, it's the sound vibrations which like move through your body to just to bring you into a deeper state of relaxation. So it works on a cellular level.
So people can experience it by going to a class or a practitioner, and the practitioner selects the right sounds, the right frequencies, and you basically, my experience is, you just lie there and receive and experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. But what it's doing is it's working on your nervous system. It's telling your nervous system, you know what, just chill. Nothing to worry about for this next hour. And breath work, there are different types of breath work practices. There's breath work which is nice and relaxing. So that might be inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. So the longer exhale is going to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. And a lot of people who hear about breath work, they think it's more relaxing. They're like, oh yeah, I've done like a little bit of yogic breathing. And then there's breath work, which is where we go, this is where the work comes from in breath work. And the breath work that like I'm really passionate about is conscious connected breath, and that is like a breath work journey, and it is working. And initially, like, you're taking your body into like a rapid state of stress through like this continual cycle of breathing, which you're breathing in and out through your mouth. There's no pauses. You're literally like, it's almost like, it's like voluntary hyperventilation in some respect, but you are controlling it, you're conscious of it, and you are.
So it might be
going into-
you one of the things someone might experience in your class is a period where they have to breathe in and out, but very rapidly,
Yes.
much more rapidly than naturally
Yeah.
for a certain period of time. And then what kind of state does that put somebody in?
So it works like multi-leveled, and the reason why I love like breathwork so much is I've been coaching for like probably like 14 years, and like coaching therapy like works at the level of the thinking mind, and so which is only like about 5% of our consciousness, but so much is stored in our subconscious mind. And I like to see it as like codes that have been programmed in, like this lifetime, past lifetimes, like the patterns, the habits, the stories, and the beliefs. Like once we've heard them, seen them, felt them, experienced them a certain number of times, they become like codes, which become like a little program which we store in our subconscious, and then they're constantly like running like in the background and are at the seat of everything that we do. Okay, so if like my self-worth like wound comes from like my childhood, like my relationship with my dad, so then like but when I was attracted like my husband, I wasn't aware that I'm attracting from the wounded like child in me, but that's the program that's running on like in the background, like from the lower seat. So what breath work does, conscious connected breath, is it's switching off like the prefrontal cortex, part of the brain, keeping us safe, and it provides this pathway or a bridge between the mind and the body. Okay, and it gives you this opportunity to go into your subconscious. And when we go into our subconscious, it's not like, oh, well, I want to, and we can obviously, I do work with intention, but the body's going to do what the body wants to do, essentially. You know, you can say like, I want to release like my like self-worth, but that's a journey. Like the first step might be something completely like unrelated, and we just have to surrender and just trust that the body and the breath, they know what to do. But it's when we kind of like go into like this deep subconscious state, and it can feel like a little bit out of body. It's altered states of breath. Okay, so you can have like a psychedelic experience. You can have a sense of being in, I like to see it as the void. So if anybody is familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about when you just become like a conscious awareness. So the breath, after a certain amount of time, like when your thinking mind switches off and you're not aware who you are, what you are, what time of day it is, you know, like all of the labels from the outside, like it's almost like they completely just
strips away all the bullshit.
Yes,
stripping away the bullshit. Yeah.
And it just brings you back to like your pure essence, like who you are at the core, and then that's the journey.
And that's what you were saying earlier about.
I'm like, we're just going to stop the podcast here. Now we're just going to do a breathwork session.
that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'd no. Well, I was going to say it really connects with, you know, your own personal story, and about how for people who don't feel connected to themselves anymore, but maybe also don't want to do a talking therapy, or even sometimes when you're in a stress state, I've had clients say, I couldn't cope with the talking therapy right now. I can't even talk about it. And the wonderful thing about breathwork or any of the physical modalities is you don't have to talk.
Yeah. You let your breath is your guide, and that's one of the things that like I absolutely like love about breathwork, is that like your breath is your biggest healer. You know, your breath is your teacher. You know, and I spent years like looking outside of myself for answers, for help, for the next teacher, guru, healer to heal me. And I did that like all the time. When I was in Monaco, I spent ridiculous amounts of money because I felt broken inside, and I was like, I really want to, like, I want to feel better. You know, I had this desire to feel exactly how I feel right now, to be honest. But I didn't know how to find that. So I'd like go, okay, well, that healer, I'll do this session. And I think like we can get really like addicted to somebody outside of us helping us. And I do think that we need coaches, we need space holders, we need somebody to guide us on this journey. But essentially what it comes back to is, well, everything you need is like in your breath. And that's so empowering. It's so empowering. It's because you go, yeah, like I have every resource I need within my body. My body is an absolute fucking miracle. And I get to choose the experiences that
Yeah.
how I live my life.
Yeah, you can't choose what's happening outside, but you can choose how you respond to it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like similarly you saying about how you get into this space with like the world telling you want to have the nice car, you need to have the watch, you need to have the husband and everything. It's very similar in like sometimes in the wellness space. It's like the solution that you need the next supplement, you need the next the next hack.
Yeah, what's the answer?
Yeah, what is the answer? What's the external answer that's going to save me? But actually the answer is within you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you need someone to hold the space and guide you through that. But actually, it's so empowering to know that you hold the answers.
Yeah.
But then it becomes again about building that self-trust in yourself.
100%. And that comes from like building safety in your nervous system. And one of the like many benefits of like a regular breathwork practice is it builds like inner resilience. It helps with your how you react to stress, your responsiveness to stress. It builds that self-trust and it creates nervous system safety. And when our nervous system is balanced and regulated, like we have more capacity. So like, and the stressful stuff like happens on the outside, but you're just sitting there going, okay, this bit shit.
An interest that you just going back to that self-trust bit, I just want to take you back to you said about when you were in lockdown and you were manifesting and you were writing it down and you were reading it and then you put it to the side and be like, that's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
How did you move from being like building that self-trust from like reading it and being like, okay, this is a crock of shit to actually this is like the magic and I really see it?
Yeah. That it was my 3C method. Yeah. Consistency. So that is creating like a consistent daily practice that becomes non-negotiable. And I started mine on the 19th of November 2019. I've never missed a day of my daily practice.
Amazing.
That is so inspiring.
Yeah. But the thing is, and that's how you build like self-trust, like because like I've woken up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, like when I've been traveling, like to make sure that I like do 5 minutes of like meditation because I love to visualize like my travel before. And people go, it's really easy traveling with you. I'm like, well, I'm up at fucking 3 a.m. like doing the work. Of course it is.
I've manifested this for us. That's why it's so easy.
So
Consistency. So that consistent daily practice. Okay. And the key to this is having a daily minimum standard. So my daily minimum standard is 2 minutes. So when I feel like I don't want to do it, I'm like, but all you have to do is 2 minutes, Naomi. And then it's like, oh, if I can't find 2 minutes for myself, there's a real big problem here.
Yes.
So, and there's been lots of times, to be honest, when I've done 2 minutes, there's been lots of times when I've sat there and I've been completely disconnected and I've literally just been a body sitting in a space, like just because I'm ticking that box. But it's the action. It's like
showing up.
Yeah, it's like I'm still going to be here, even though like everything around me is telling me not to. Everything within me is like saying this is a hard fucking no today. Like, but you're still there. Connection. Okay. Connection is like connection back to yourself, connection to your dreams, your desires, your goals, what are you moving towards, what's your North Star. So for me, it was that connection to this is what I want, and I'm not going to stop until I get there, even though I can't see it, even though I don't feel it right now. I'm connecting to the vision of this future me. And then connection to something greater, being held by a higher power, and whatever that means, like for you, like for me, like it's source universal energy. Like that is what I see as this. Like whenever I'm holding space, I connect into this infinite like universe, and I feel it. And then I connect into the ground beneath me, like all the way down to the roots, and I feel it. It's connection, something that's holding you. And this is where like that self-trust comes in. It's like, if I don't trust myself, but I trust this.
Yes.
I trust this. So in all of these moments, like I'm connected to this and I trust this, and I know that I'm guided. And it's that consistent action of being that connected. And then the third one is commitment. You have to commit to yourself like nobody has ever committed to you.
Yes.
And that's hard because there's always somebody else who like wants you, or like that you need, if you're a mum, like dog mum, whatever. Like there's always people that want you.
In practice, what does that commitment look like then?
Yeah. Well, like being committing to yourself, like committing to the practice that you create for yourself.
Yeah,
like
so
that
I'll do it
commitment.
even if someone else wants that time.
Yeah.
I'm still doing my 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That commitment to who you want to be, like the life that you're heading towards. Like,
So it's prioritizing in a way.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
basically saying, I will put that need and prioritize myself,
Yeah.
which can, again, we find it on the reset. Women find this very challenging.
Mhm.
Well, if you think about like commitment, like if you're in a relationship, like if you're committed to a person, you have like a connected bond, like whatever that means, like for you in that with that person. And this is like you being that person for yourself, that
Yes.
commitment back to yourself. Like it's like, yeah, I can be like the partner, the wife, the mum, whatever it is, but it's your commitment to yourself, your relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Now, one of the things we really want to talk to you about today is the concept of phases that we all go through as women, but obviously you've gone through some very clear phases, and how we navigate that. And you sent a beautiful newsletter about it recently, which we both loved.
Oh.
And we had actually done a recent podcast on letting go of the past.
Yeah.
And I talked about the importance of endings and recognizing, even if you're moving on to something new and wonderful, obviously you were going through something where you didn't know how it would end, but sometimes people are even moving on to something that they know will be great. We often don't recognize and have an ending, or recognize the loss or the change of identity. And again, I think as women, we do go through kind of phases of life that just come with natural change in who we are. So we would love for you to share with our audience about why it is important to recognize these distinct phases and identities, and how we can move through that in a really healthy and positive way.
Yeah.
And if you want to set the context about how you came to write the newsletter about being awake, please do. Whatever, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I was in Portugal recently, and I've been going back to Portugal. I think it's my 5th time back. And when I first went, I think it was like 2022, and I took my son for a surf camp because I'd not long separated from my ex-husband, and it was obviously really difficult for him. And I thought, right, I'm just going to do something really fun with him, and something like that really makes me feel like I like doing things that scare me. Okay, like because that change in neuroplasticity, like I'm always like looking to do things that like make me feel uncomfortable. And I hate swimming. I hate the water. I had an accident in the sea when I was younger, and it just really like terrified me. Anyway, so when my son said that he wanted to go surfing, I wanted to shoot myself in the fucking head. I was like, no, we're going to do this. So we went surfing, and I actually did surf. I got up on the board.
Wow,
and I did surf. And then like I did a couple of days, and then it got a bit rough, and then I kept getting hurt, and I was a bit like, okay, I'm done now. Yeah. I'm just going to sit here.
I've proved my point.
Yes.
Now we can move. Next hard thing.
Yeah. And I probably haven't been back in the sea since. No, I put a toe in recently. But it really made me think about like over the years, like the different trips I'd had, and I kept going back to different places, and I was thinking, oh, like a couple of years ago I was here, and then I was thinking about like those versions of me who had gone where I was at that time in my journey, and it's almost like those versions of me kind of like coming back, and it's like, oh, poor you, like back then, like
you felt sorry
really
for the past versions of yourself.
Yeah, well, it's like kind of like seeing myself like where I was then, which was like very different from like where I am today, and it's almost like integrating like that version of me like into the now, and it was a really interesting moment. And then in a lot of like the work that I do, I really like focus on like who are you becoming? What is the next level version of you? Who do you want to be? Like what's the identity that you want to create for yourself? Like you are in control. Like essentially like whatever you want, you are co-creating your own reality, how you want to feel. And obviously there's like it's not just as easy as like putting an order in on Amazon Prime and then like 10 p.m. delivery going, okay,
new me's arrived. How convenient.
Wouldn't that be? Well, but then no, because it's like it's a journey, isn't it? You have to do the journey. Although I feel like yes, on the days when you're probably like locked in your house in lockdown, you're like, yes, Amazon Prime, please, can I manifest this?
I wouldn't change it.
No. Well, but even that thing of I'll be happy when, it can be I'll be happy when I get the expensive handbag, but it can also be I'll be happy when I've become this amazing version of myself. I think they can all be that kind of false goal in a way.
Yeah, 100%. But so a lot of the work I do is like it is about like raising your frequency and your vibration to become a match for what you want to create in your life. And breath work is like your fast track Amazon Prime way to do that. but there's also, but then you like come across like the fears and the doubts, and you have to overcome those obstacles. You have to, you have, like, it is a journey, and I wouldn't change any part of mine. Like when I like go into like the full story of like what I went through, people always say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that," and I'm like, why? Like, I'm so happy now. I literally wake up every morning and think, I really love my life. I'm so grateful, and that comes from a place of like not thinking, oh, I need to think that I'm really grateful because that's what you have to do. It's a feeling. It's like this feeling which comes from my stomach and comes up, and it just warms me. And it's like, I'm so content.
So coming back to this concept though of the versions of yourself.
Yep. Sorry.
No,
It's fine.
all of this is just you know magical. As we said, we love talking to you whether we're recording.
Yeah.
I really hope we are recording, but whether we're recording or not, like
I'm freaking out that we're not recording.
we are. But this concept of why it's important to recognize who we've been and process that. I think that's really important. If you can share more about that in general.
Yeah. So I definitely have. I've done like a lot of like the integration like with my own journey. However, what I see a lot with the women that I work with is like still holding on to a version of them in the past. Like, I just want to get back to when I was 25, when my boobs were perky, when I had endless energy and I could party 2 or 3 a.m. on the tables and I didn't get a hangover. You know, like
oh my God, and you just didn't need sleep.
100%. And clients will say to me, it's like, I miss how carefree I was.
Yeah, so we hold on to a past version of us, and we're trying desperately hard to get back to a version of us that does not exist now. Okay, that version of us did exist, and we can take elements and aspects of that. Okay, what part of like that version of you did you love? I loved that. I loved being carefree. Okay, how do we bring being more carefree into your life right here, right now, with the resources that you have available to you in this present moment that are in alignment with who you are becoming? Okay, and it's different. So you're still, the feeling is the same. I want to feel carefree, but the route that you're going there is completely different because you're not holding on to the past version of you. So I think this is like a real key element, and I think it's something that like I don't really see like spoken about and like people like really doing this work on, because it's like you're never going to get back there. You know, like so you have to let that version of you go, and letting that version of you go, there's a grief. Because it's like, but I don't want to let her go because, like, I really want to hold on to like my perky boobs and dancing on the
is that never going to happen again?
Yes.
Right.
But we're never gonna be that version of us ever again.
So how
we're
do
keeping
people
us stuck?
How do people do the work to let go of that, and then I think it's always good to then be really grateful for that.
100%. Yeah, bless that version of the past. Thank you so much. Like, thank you. You were part of my journey. Have gratitude. You can write her a letter. Like, that's whatever version of you, like, thank you so much. Like, I loved that. Like, when I was 25, I was so carefree, and you've shown me that this is something that's really important to me right here, right now. I let you go. I send you so much love. And you're still integrating those parts back into you, but your goal is not in the past. So it's cutting that energy. Breathwork is another really good way to do that, because you're creating that like energetic ending, so that you're releasing, so that you can also like step into the new, but also like acknowledgement, like just like be like, oh gosh, like I'm never going to be like that again, but then bringing yourself into the present, but I still get to be me right now. Oh my God, I've got the best years ahead of me right now. You know, it's all like we are a product of like what the stories that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
And
the narrative can be put on you by social media, by other people who will talk about a woman being in her prime, or you'll be like, oh, the best years were behind me, and it's that reframing of no, every decade every year is a huge opportunity, but saying thank you, and also sometimes just saying, oh my God, I'm really glad that phase is over. Actually, that was hideous. Let's put that on the burning boat and push it out into the river, right?
Viking funeral.
let's do a
I was
Viking
talking about this
funeral.
this morning, actually. Yes, about giving a Viking funeral to a pigeon. I have some really long, boring runs to do at the moment.
I need to hear this. Oh my God.
I'm doing a marathon training, so yeah, there are many random conversations that take place.
We're talking about a real pigeon.
Yes, but it was alive and the pigeon didn't die. But then we this is how, like, which thank God, which is great. But then we were talking about, like, it's funny how you meld conversations, because you were talking about Vikings, the TV series, and then obviously that led into the pigeon. Anyway, back to more important things.
Can I say, I'm trying to rein it back though, on the funeral part, on the whole thing about loss. I think something maybe as a society that we used to be better at is we had a lot of rituals.
Yeah.
Rituals about death and grief.
Yeah.
So we were actually in some ways better at dealing with that. But there would be rituals about coming of age and different phases of life and celebrations for both genders of different phases of life that would possibly act as a marker of now let go that you're not a child or you're not a young person anymore, you're not this, and now you're entering a new phase that's revered. And I think maybe because we've lost that, we as individuals need to be mindful of that and think about new practices. It's what, it's why your newsletter is so powerful, that some people might read that having never had that thought about that concept, and actually going, you know what, my brain does need a bit of a narrative, a bit of a reflection, so I can acknowledge and move on, and then be excited about this new phase instead of it not feeling great.
Yeah.
And I think, letting it go as well, because I think as well, like, because life looks so different now for so many people, it's amazing that you can create a life that you want. Sometimes that's a bit overwhelming in itself, but also if society is saying to you, because it does wash into your subconscious, if life is saying at this age you should have a house, be sorted, X, Y, and Z, or even if you thought at 20 you would have X, Y, and Z sorted, there is a grief that's attached to having the version of you that you haven't become, perhaps, as well. That is perhaps worth, like, just letting go, acknowledging where you are, and also embracing that wonderful possibility that you can create now anything you want.
Yeah.
And if you still want that, then go for it now, just because it's at a different age. But there is we obviously think grief and death, but there are someone said to me beautifully the other day, even on a low level, there in life every day there's some sort of level of grief, whether it's a version of yourself that you were, a version of yourself that you didn't become, even if it's like, I'm like grieving like the end on a very low level of the TV show and I don't get to see those characters anymore. It's there's levels to it, but obviously, and so it's like just moving through that in a way, and just acknowledging it, that it's probably more of a part of our reality than we care to admit, because we don't talk about it, like you were saying.
Can I ask a piece of advice? Because all this work we're talking about is about with ourselves, and it's all really positive. But then people can do these things where they're changing identity, they're having loss and then embracing something new. That's all lovely until you have to deal with other people's reactions to
interesting.
that. What advice do you have about people going through that journey and then other people are not liking them changing because they like them being who they were, or just are finding it difficult? Because I think it's one thing to navigate all that stress yourself, but then to have to deal with, and you must have had to deal with lots of people reacting to the changes you were making.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, I have really good boundaries in place now. Like, and sometimes they're probably like a little bit too good.
I don't think so. No, not at all.
Like, I'm really protective of my energy. I'm really protective of who I let in. And I think, like, now, like, I'm so in tune with myself and my energy. If somebody's energy isn't resonating with me, I will be like, okay, like, I'm not going to spend time with you. And I will not spend time with people who I will not say yes, like, when I want to say no. I'm quite happy to say no, and I'm quite happy to change plans. I'm quite happy to cancel in the last minute as well. But that took a lot of time, and that's something that, like, I see, like, a lot of women, like, struggle with, like, going, oh, but I have to do that. Who says? Is there, like, is there somebody, like, above you that's poking you and saying you have to? No, that's you saying that. That's your boundaries. So I think, like, boundaries is a really big thing for women. And when we start to change, we make other people feel uncomfortable because that they like the broken version of us, because it makes them feel comfortable. So when we start to change, it creates, like, a dis-ease within them, unless they are on a journey too. People who are on their own journey, they're going to be the ones that are celebrating you. Oh my God, I love what you are doing. Tell me what you're doing. Like, I need to know. Like, I want to do it with you. Like, these people whose energy, like, But it's the people who are like, well, yeah, it's probably you're probably going to fail again in like however long. Like looking at the reactions of people will really give you a good indicator in how, I don't know the right words to say this without it sounding wrong, how valuable they're going to be to in your life. And that can be really hard because it can be like, it can be parents, it can be friends that you've been friends with for like 30 years, for example. And all of a sudden, when you start to change, you start to see things through a different lens. You see the truth in people, and you're like, oh, one sec. Oh, you're actually like not a nice person, and you actually put me down all the time. And you'd actually, whenever I see you, like my energy, I feel like I've been hit by a bus, you know. So and that can be like a really hard part of the journey, like slowly like breaking away. And I'd say like, don't just like, well, unless you're a Scorpio, then you probably are just like close the door and like, okay, bye, I'm done.
Instant death, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Sniffy snip. We're done. But like even like that process can be really hard for like a lot of women. And it can just be like, it's like, okay, just take one step back. Okay, get comfortable with that one step. And then once you've done that one step, take a breath, take the next step back. So it's like a gradual, like that little micro shift strategy, like a game. But it is hard, and it's to see people in their truth.
Yeah. One of the things we'd love, you know, from this episode is for people to maybe try breath work.
Yeah.
To kind of conclude the conversation, we'd love to hear from you. First of all, what are the different ways people can start to get into it? Because again, like you said, it's about making that one small change, not overwhelming yourself. And then obviously, if people want to work with you, what are the different ways they can do that?
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So breathwork, there's lots of different ways to like come into my world and breathe with me. Firstly, I've got like a free breathwork practice audio that you can download, and it's 20 minutes and you can do it whenever you want. And it's really good as like a daily practice. So I'll share that with you as well. I also have like a breathwork membership, which is a beautiful community of women, and we gather on a new moon or a full moon, or so both new moon and full moon. And that's like a longer full breathwork journey, and it's synced with the cycles of the moon, which I love this work. I think it's really, really powerful for women to come together as a collective. And it's really weird, even though it's online, like I bring the collective element into it and we all feel it. It's really, really powerful. So the full moon is always about release. The new moon is always about like intention setting, the version of you that you're stepping into. So you get into this process, and then we like align with like what's going on astrologically as well, which is always really fascinating.
Yes.
And the collective energy, like just everybody will say like, I want to release like not feeling good enough. Somebody else said, I want to release perfectionism. And then like you're like, oh, like we're all struggling in some way. So that's like some way to come in as well. And I always offer like just to join like one session for free, so you can kind of like have a sense of like the community. And then I work one-to-one as well. So I do that online, in person. I've got a breathwork retreat coming up as well, and teacher training. So if you're working in holistic modalities, or you want to step into this world, then I'm teaching women how to, and men actually, how to make this a like life-changing career for others. So many ways to come.
And if someone comes to you one-to-one, how do you get them to take those first steps? What do the first steps look like for someone?
First steps look like we just start with the conversation. Like I want to have an understanding of where somebody is at, and also like for me to know like, can I actually help this person? I won't work with anybody who I don't feel that I can help. And if somebody's like not going to be committed to doing the work, or it's like, well, I've been told that I have to do this. It's like, okay, well, unless you're like fully on board, this is not going to work. So I always have like an initial conversation, and depending on like what they've got going on, we'll either bring it in with coaching, or we'll just do standalone breathwork. But I've got a lot of clients who are going through grief, like big grieving and processes, divorce, spiritual awakenings. Yeah, they're probably like the main areas that I deal with. But there's always lots of different people who come into my world, and I love it. I do love it.
It's so amazing. And we'll link in the show notes, obviously, how to find you. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Obviously, yeah, we'll share in the show notes your socials and everything. I'd love to kind of close the question of, if there's a woman here like listening to this who's struggling, maybe going through something that in any way is similar to that experience of I'm not happy in my life, but I don't trust myself, what would just be that first step or that one piece of wisdom in a way that maybe you wish someone had shared with you?
That's an interesting question. I'd probably say don't do it alone. And obviously, like, you can reach out to me, or one of you two, but
Yeah.
find somebody outside of yourself who you feel like connected to. Like, a lot of like women, when they come into my world, they're like, I don't know how I found you, but I know I'm meant to be here. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Like, it's like there's no hard sale needed. If somebody's trying to, if somebody's quite vulnerable and they're looking for somebody, and there's somebody like trying to hard sell them, that's not their person. Like, you have to have that.
You should
Yeah,
feel,
that
so look for people,
connection.
but you should feel that you're in the right
Yeah,
place when you're doing that.
And again, like, that can be hard, like if you're not trusting yourself, but I do believe that the universe will give us a glimmer. I really do believe that.
And follow it.
Yeah,
What a beautiful
follow.
place to end. And just thank you so much. Honestly, it's been such a joy having you here.
Oh, I've had a great time. Thank you.
It really has. And I know, because you said you're very good at your boundaries,
Yeah.
so, and you're good at saying no. So we're very grateful that you said
We
yes
really
to
Oh my
coming
God,
on the podcast.
I love this. This was like a hell yes.
Oh, we're so
Yes.
grateful. Thank you so much, my
Thank
lovely.
you.
Maybe we can have you back in a future episode as well. But
I'd
yes, that'd be really,
absolutely
really
love
good.
to.
But yes.
Thank you.
My darlings, thank you so much for being with us today. If you have any questions, as always, get in touch with us. And if you could continue to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, we would be eternally grateful. And we'll see you soon.